No, it says we're live.
It lies. All right.
Start talking.
If you'd like to keep the air conditioning running because, hey, it's late June in Texas,
Not 100 yet. It's only 97 today.
only 97 and 113% humidity. Don't donate here, please.
Don't donate here.
Hmm?
Don't donate here.
No, donate here, please. If you like coffee, and we would like to keep these guys afloat so they can continue to send us coffee. If you like coffee, talk to King Harbs. I really recommend their African blends. I really do. www.kingharb.com. Good friends of ours. When you order coffee, remind them that you heard it from us. We like getting surprise bags of coffee.
Yeah.
Apparently, Smart Aleck t-shirts are all the rage at cons. If you would like to be prepared for your next con, Among the Leaves Tees has Smart Aleck t-shirts. Also a friend of ours. Let him know you heard about it from us.
Yeah, Kermit, there are multiple people doing range trips now. But before we get started, I'd like to back up to
Holy crap.
a PSA from Rick, which I was not aware of. So if you are allergic to milk products, stay away from hotel pre-scrambled eggs.
Yeah, they add milk to fluff up the eggs.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of that. I'm not allergic to
Any
it.
place where they make scrambled eggs professionally
Yeah.
uses a little milk
I
in
do too.
the scrambled eggs.
I do too.
And
Actually, I
that's
use half and
Sanford,
half.
who used to be a professional cook. So yes,
I use half and half when I scramble eggs. I splash in a little half and half.
yeah. Kermit, among other things, YouTube is having some issues, and I'll just leave it at that.
Apparently, they're screwing a whole bunch of folks.
If we mention it, we'll probably be next. What the hell?
I think-
we got kicked off Facebook. So.
Yeah, I think from the slowdowns and lack of announcements, I'm guessing that we're already on that list.
Yeah. Milk and eggs works just fine unless you're allergic.
Yeah.
Yes, true statement.
I would like to, before we get this started, I'd like to point out that I may appear chipper. I'm so sleepy.
Yeah.
I've had very little sleep since I got back from LibertyCon.
Yeah, I'm off all meds, so now I'm dealing with the insomnia from getting off the meds.
I don't know. You seem to be about your normal amount of brightness and wittiness, and I'm not talking to Jim.
I'm faking it really hard.
Yes, but I know you well enough to know that this is about normal for you.
Yeah, Rick, I never monetized my blog,
Hmm.
and I've been blogging for about 18 years.
I'll just mainline some George Hall and grab my walker, shall I?
I already did that.
Yeah, right.
But I've never monetized the blog. I've no intent to monetize this. I don't like to take advantage of people. I figure if you're crazy enough to read my brain drippings or listen to us, you don't need to pay for
You're
it.
crazy.
Yeah.
You-
Trying not to say that.
You need to save the money for counseling.
Well, I'll have you know that my mind is perfectly legitimate, and I have no strange thoughts.
That was not what you said earlier. Anyway, one clarification because of something that got said this morning in the news conference.
Which
Right.
news conference?
By Raising Cane, the new chairman of Joint Chiefs,
Okay.
about Al Udeid when they basically evacuated the base.
Mm.
And he made a statement in there and said, well, they left a captain in charge,
Navy or Army?
Air Force.
Air Force captain. Okay. 03.
Yeah. So 03 was in charge. The reason being
Why they're there.
they were the duty section security team. So yes, they're going to leave the duty section there, and whoever had the duty got screwed.
That's what
Welcome
that's why
to
you
the
have
military.
Yeah.
That's why you have captains. They're expendable.
Yeah.
You're in the military. Embrace the suck. I don't know what to tell you.
If you're in the military, you're fungible. The lower your rank, the more fungible you are.
Hey, Cedar's here. Hey, Cedar.
Cedar's here, Don's here, the usual suspects. Gabe ate all the alligator. Alligator jerky is interesting. Alligator is interesting, period. Now, John, what happened was with the advance notice that they got that they were going to lob missiles into Al Udeid,
Iran was going to launch. We're going to launch missiles here.
they'd already bagged the airplanes out. So basically to prevent anything happening, quote unquote, they evacuated most of the people out, except for the missileers and the Army shooters that had the Patriot systems. And they left a security detail. Friend of mine who was a radar tech in Vietnam, Air Force, made the mistake of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. During
Embrace the suck.
he ended up on patrol in Da Nang for 6 days during the Tet Offensive. As he said, I was out there with an M16, had no fucking idea what I was doing, but I was told, look out the fence, and if anybody tries to come through, shoot them. And he goes, well, what if they're friendlies? If they're trying to come through the fence, they're not friendlies.
Okay, so he got the same briefing that all the Army guys got.
Yeah, pretty much. You can have the kangaroo jerky. I've had kangaroo, and it's not a taste I enjoy.
Well, first you got to tie it down.
No, we are not starting that this early. Kangaroo is not.
Again, Pacific Theater of Operations is not anyone I've worked in. So
Yeah. It's a texture that does not taste right for being a meat.
It could be worse. Could be monkey.
yeah, I'll never eat monkey. So there we go.
Monkey's not bad. You've had monkey on a stick.
I'm sure I have, but not willingly.
Don, you should have.
I don't want Mongolian rabies, so I don't eat monkey.
You should have grown up when we did with the old Corvairs and Volkswagens that you could go down the road at 90 miles an hour and spin the steering wheel both sides and keep going straight.
Yeah.
Talk about floating the front end.
No monkey. Yeah, they got Mongolian rabies, every one of them.
I had a friend who had a Buick, and he was a tuner. He was a power wagon guy. And what kept pissing him off was he could only get up to 156 miles an hour.
Oh, like
Because after 156 miles an hour, the front end would lift and he couldn't do anything with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, it's monkey is a red meat. Depends.
I always thought it was sort of a greenish meat, but
Yeah. Yeah, we're past you for flying cars.
I don't want any of you idiots passing over my house.
Yeah, but I've always found it funny the number of law enforcement types that were into hot rods. A couple of the ones that we know are and have been and still are into hot rods.
how many parasites does monkey meat have? All of them. And Mongolian rabies.
Yeah.
Are y'all not listening?
Don says, I don't want to be in the air with the kind of people I'm on the road with.
He's not
Pretty
wrong.
much.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, ostrich is a dark meat, but it's tasty.
Ostrich is perfectly edible.
Hey, Nancy, welcome. We had fun last week with bringing Nancy and Gordon in.
Oh, good. Good.
That was a interesting set of discussions over saddles. And
I'll bet there were strong opinions.
We had fun with it. The differences of the saddles, where saddles came from.
I didn't
Don't
have much.
miss the car, I miss the excessive speed.
I didn't have much to add. I just had to look pretty.
Speed's always fun. It's depending on where you do it and whether you do it legally or not. Yeah, we definitely have opinions. Yes. Yeah, Padre, it would give you another dimension to dodge in, but the problem with that is most people are not like birds. Birds, and I say this as an aviator who has dodged birds. Birds immediately will go down. So the contract that you have with birds is they go down, you go up, which is fine until you get one that's above you and decides to go down as you start to go up. Then things get a little messy.
Or until you hit a flock that's 5 times as high as you are, 5 times as wide, and 5 times as low.
Well, we took a seagull down an intake on takeoff out of Kef one night in a snowstorm. That was
And
fun.
nothing of value was lost. As far as seagull goes.
Well, I was just thinking, in Ohio we have flocks of starlings.
Yeah.
That are a few thousand strong, and they fly as a flock.
Yeah.
Crackles.
And when they all go, even if they all go down, they're still above you and to both sides of you.
Yeah.
Admittedly, they're small enough to be less of a problem than a seagull.
Dawn, if you're running an insurance tracker, you're going to be in trouble anyway. So there is that.
The hell do you have an insurance tracker? Don, damn. I've seen you drive.
Army Corps of Engineers like buffalo jerky. Yeah, well, they're the ones that have got to go pick the damn thing up. So why not
Oh.
turn it into jerky?
What
Hey,
are we,
Jesse.
what are we beta testing?
Huh?
Nothing. I'm actually able to read some stuff, and I should stop doing that. So latest news: Iran flung a couple of missiles our way and said, "Have at."
Yeah.
Or whatever.
14 of them.
Thing about Iran is, and a whole bunch of people that should know better or shouldn't, I don't care, have opinions about Iran that are not correct.
Yes. Oh, speaking of incorrect opinions, something else that people do not understand about the military. The military does not do its own bomb damage assessment per se. They will video the drops, but the actual bomb damage assessment is done by other people.
Really?
Always has been.
How odd, because one of the major parts of my duties when I was in was bomb damage assessment.
Yeah, but you were on the ground.
Right.
So you were part of the team that was feeding the people that did the actual BDA.
Okay.
Because as a aviator dropping a bomb, all you see is either it hit the target, missed the target, it did something.
If you see that, depending on how fast they're going.
You don't know how much actual damage that bomb did. You cannot call your own BDA.
What he's saying is the sky jockeys don't do
Oh,
their own.
because when he
BDA.
said military wasn't doing BDAs, that's okay. That's changed.
Well, the Air Force won't do BDA.
Okay.
and
now
probably
they will-
not the Navy bombers either.
I mean, we did one, which had we known about it after the fact, we would not have done it. But we were deployed in Japan, in northern Japan, in the middle of the winter in 76, sorry. And we got called to go fly over a lake just south of Sapporo, Japan, with cameras. And it was one of those, why are we doing that? Well, they need pictures of the lake. And we, briefed it the whole 9 yards, and it was one pass, all ass, no second chances. 500 feet, across the lake, come home. Well, we get back, they developed a film. We had a pretty good belly camera in a P3 and took a number of other pictures. And come to find out, the reason we got the mission was the Japanese would not fly it because it was snow swans. And there was a $1,000 per swan penalty for killing one.
It's gonna suck to be a swan. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, same thing with the Goonie birds on Midway and East Island. $500 fine for killing one. One day we killed about 20 trying to get 4 airplanes off the deck, and not a damn one of them made it. I mean, birds striking the engine, birds striking the canopy, birds striking the windshield. No, it wasn't kaiju. It was just a bunch of damn white swans on the lake.
Sucks to be a swan.
Well, we had to take it at precise time, which was like 10 o'clock in the morning.
But anywho, it's tough.
Yeah.
As an amateur historian, somebody that likes reading history, I've been continually stunned by a report, especially from World War II, about how these massive strikes on the strategic targets took the targets out. And ball bearing factories, we have destroyed the ball bearing factory. And then 20 years later, when you go to the reports, turns out that they didn't.
Yeah.
They scratched the ball bearing factory and was producing widgets within a month of the strike.
Or a day or two.
So everybody's screaming about the overkill on the Iranian. That's not overkill, folks.
No.
They wanted somebody was smart enough to realize that historically and it's time after time. You'll read reports taken at the time. Oh, said widget factory has been completely obliterated. And then 20 years later, saying no. No, it was minimum damage and producing widgets within 4 weeks.
Same thing with the sub pins.
Yeah, exactly. Sub pins is a big one.
Yeah.
They hit the sub pins. Sub pins are destroyed. Went back 20 years to take a look at it. No, they weren't.
Yeah.
No, they weren't.
They did not damage a single submarine that was in the pins at the time.
And the famous one where they rammed they had a suicide ship and they rammed the doors of the sub pin and blew up the Campbellton.
Yeah,
I forget. Brain not working today. The Campbellton, I think, and they rammed it, packed it full of explosives, rammed the massive unique doors of the sub pin and blew it and took the sub pins out. And it turns out, no, they didn't.
No,
No.
the doors didn't even. It dinged the doors a little bit, but the doors were still operable.
Yeah, or they came back online. I forget which. So
Dry dock door. Yeah, thank you. Dry dock, not the
appreciate it. Thank you. So and one of the things that amuses me, that amuses the hell out of me about the Sten series, is General Marshal Mahoney, when they're attacking a planet on the reattack. He sees the plans. He tells the planners double the ordnance, and they scratch their heads and double the ordnance, and then brought it back to me. Said, "All right, now double it again." And so quadruple the planned ordnance, and they still had to fight their way. So the massive using what apparently was our entire stock of MOPs was a good idea, because I want to make sure that those centrifuges are done. Period.
Well, something else that somebody pointed out is it was thought that 2 of the weapons should be enough to obliterate the site.
Let's go for 8.
4 would be twice what they needed, and that's good.
Yeah.
6, which is what they used apparently, wasn't because they didn't think they could do the job with 2 or 4. It was so that there was so much overkill that the Chinese couldn't be sure how many it took to do the job.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, the a prime example, I'm pretty sure this is just an old analyst. The Ukrainian attack on the bridge that the Ruskies built to the Crimea.
Yeah.
They set off a hell of a lot of explosives, made a lot of water in the air, and the bridge didn't come down. And I'll guarantee you, Ukrainians are amateurs at this right now. Very enthusiastic, very lucky, and pretty good amateurs. But what they did is they did all the calculations, taught their scientists, and decided they needed X amount of explosives. So they packed X amount of explosives. Now, if I was running the op, I'd have talked to scientists, the engineers, and X amount, so X squared.
Yeah.
And then I'd have squared the square. You don't ever, if you're experienced at doing this, you don't ever go with what the wonks say is the proper amount. You double it and then double it again.
Yeah.
Well, it is the proper amount if you could take 3 days to set it and put everything precisely where it belongs.
Yeah, which you're not going to have time
With
to
an expert at laying it that knows how to tamp it properly.
Yeah.
When you got a bunch of enlisted men, a bunch of grunts out there shoving packages of explosives on it,
Yeah.
they're not going to shove it in the right places. They're not going to tamp it right.
Well, Nuke Road Warrior makes a good point. Norden bomb sight could hit a pickle barrel from 20,000 feet.
Please.
In perfect circumstances, in testing, yes. In combat, no.
Well, when you've got a high functioning alcoholic running your bomb site, sorry guys. Yes, on a clear day, and I given the bombs available, the pickle barrel thing, no. I was always amused reading the Norden bomb site. The site itself accurate. The bombs using the site,
Not so much.
not so much. But no, if the techno weenies, if the boffins had told me it required 2 tons of explosive for that bridge, I'd have packed to the 8.
Yeah.
2 doubled is 4. Double that again, 8 tons. That's what I would have put under that bridge.
Well, the thing is, when you're doing testing, and I did this for a living for quite a few years, you always get that one perfect circumstance where everything works as advertised. Once.
If you test it often enough.
The classic case for the Navy was the initial testing of the Sidewinder and VX4 out of Point Magoo. First live fire of a Sidewinder. Head-to-head pass on a QF-86 drone. It center punched the windshield.
Nice.
Perfect shot.
Never going to do that again.
They never did. Because when they did the telemetry calculations and looked at what was going on, the missile's fins were flopping full extension randomly. Because one of the software people had made a change to the program and didn't tell anybody. That was the only time that missile ever hit in a head-to-head.
Sheer dumb luck.
Sheer dumb luck. Yep.
Well, if you take a rifle and you clamp it down, brace it, lock it to where it can't be moved except for the action, and you fire 10 rounds at a target, let's call it 500 meters.
Yeah.
You're going to hit probably close to each other, maybe, with every round.
It depends on the type of rifle.
Depends on a whole bunch of stuff.
A friend of mine my old gunsmith builds Venturist rifles. I have seen the target where he shot 10 rounds at 100 yards with a 308, and the hole was 0.02 inches.
Yeah, but it's custom rifling, custom barrel,
Yep.
custom ammunition.
Yep, it's a $10,000 rifle
Yeah.
with ammunition built for that gun.
Yep. And I'll guarantee you somebody out there is loading ammunition grain by grain.
Oh hell, it's not grain by grain. They measured the weight of the case. All of the cases were within a thousandth of an ounce. They measured every bullet
Yep.
within a thousandth of an ounce. They checked the spheroid on every bullet.
Mhm.
They measured the powder to a single grain. The setback on the bullet was precise to a thousandth of an inch.
Custom loaded ammo.
Yeah, custom loaded ammo.
Yeah.
Don, it was a bull barrel bench rest rifle. So the rifle weighed about 30 pounds. It was basically a zero win day, but it was a determination that they needed to quote unquote certify the rifle as being accurate to the point that the bench rester wanted. He did. The bench rester could not shoot the rifle that well.
I'm just
Now,
saying.
Sandy could because he's also an expert shot.
Well, I'm just saying that if you have a normal rifle,
Yeah,
and you lock it down to where it can't move, you cannot get that kind of accuracy out of a normal rifle with
No.
normal ammunition.
No, you can't. Well,
I mean, you may be able to hit a target at 1,000 meters that's the size of a rabbit's ass.
Yeah.
I
can
am,
and I have.
I, on the other hand, at 1,000 meters, can't find the rabbit's ass.
Yeah.
I can make people nervous with a 308. I've got a Daniel Defense AR-10. It's actually it's over at Jim's house right now.
Yeah.
With good glass, I can make people nervous. I can make a humanoid target nervous 600, maybe 800 meters. I can whiff rounds around it. I can own anybody out to about 500 with good glass.
Yep.
I know my limitations. 500 with a 8 to 10 power scope and a good. I can with that rifle, I can hit a torso sized target reliably at 500 meters, and I can make it really nervous at 800. But that's it.
Well, Don, you know, because you've seen me shoot, there are plenty of outside variables. And what you have to do is to account for all those variables. And that's where it gets interesting. As the range increases, the variables increase.
And the effective variables have increased.
It does. And if you're a long range shooter, the other thing is the type of rifle. A sniper rifle is going to be heavier. It's going to have a bull barrel. Whereas if you're shooting a standard rifle, it does not have a bull barrel. The barrel will heat up by every round, and you get the barrel starting to do the wave.
Well, also as a young man, when I went through the Army's basic gunsmithing course, 45 Bravo, small arms specialist, I was stunned to learn that the biggest effect that bull barrels have on accuracy, while there's a big heat, like Jim says, as the barrel heats up, especially if it's not well heat treated, as it heats up, it'll wander.
Yeah.
I did not realize until I went through that course, and then they showed me it, was the bull barrel dampens the vibrations and oscillations of the barrel as the bullet travels down it.
Yep.
People don't realize that the most rifle barrels vibrate. There are harmonics, and an accurate rifle, during the path of the bullet, the harmonics cause the muzzle will be in the same spot every time. An inaccurate one, it's the harmonics. It's not.
Well, it not only it elongates, it also moves in 3 axes.
Mhm. Yep. It
And
vibrates as
yeah.
it does it. Well, and you can, in slow motion photography, you can see the basically a sine wave moving down the barrel as it's very minor, but you can see it with naked eye.
Yeah.
Under
slow motion.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing is if the muzzle is not cut correctly, every round is going to leave in a different direction, depending on where it engages that final bit of lands and groups, which is something that a lot of people don't understand.
There's a one of the science and art. Frankly, it's an art involved in accurate long range rifles is mind blowing. It
Yeah.
really is.
It is not something that you pick up overnight,
New.
but if you do it and practice it enough, you become very, very good at it.
It's what is good choice, Jesse. The rifle barrel? Oh, yeah. Yes, I guess. I don't know. Oh, this damn thing.
Hush, stop it.
You know, long range shooting is somebody said it's weaponized math, and they're not wrong.
Yeah, it is weaponized math because the number of things that go through your head when you're calculating around, and it's every shot. And when you have a quartering tailwind or a quartering crosswind that's variable intensity, it's every shot. And it will take you 3 or 4 shots to get on.
I'm an up close and personal guy.
Yeah.
I'm
the lazy type. I'm going to lay back down and be the Overwatch.
and he's good at it. I know my strengths, and flowing a building with a carbine is my strength. It's not long range shooting. I can, like I said, 600, 800 meters. Okay.
Yeah.
Give Sanford club.
Yeah. And Dawn is right. She just says, it felt right. Yeah.
She can do that.
Well, she's doing the math. She just doesn't
Doesn't realize she's doing the math. Yeah, I can.
women.
Don't get me started. Do not get me started. I'm the guy that kicks in the door and flows the
Yeah.
building. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, DA, that's called the Coriolis effect. And yes, it does play in.
Artillery.
Yeah.
They
Also
actually,
gets the Coriolis effect.
they actually have slip sticks.
Yeah.
They have these giant. I've got to do some an afternoon with the gun bunnies, and they actually have at least in the 80s they had these honest to God slide rules that
Yeah.
were that thick and that long, and it was wow. They were actually Coriolis was in there.
Richard, I've pretty much given up on the amateur radio stuff because I can't hear well enough anymore. Yeah, Padre. Humans' ability to do things is amazing, no question.
People are weird.
It's, everybody's weird in their own way. The other thing we need to talk about is books. You have a new book out this week.
We have multiple books out this. The J. Kenton Pierce's Kiss for Damocles, the entire novel is up and it's glorious. We're
getting there, Mike.
Fuck, there went the glow stick. I just looked at the proofs.
Right.
John, which antho did we just launch? Goblin Souk. Thank you. Goblin Souk. Getting there. Goblin Souk. Glorious cover, by the way. And then Chris Nuttall's Boys Venture is out. So we've got 3 out. The complete novel of Kiss for Damocles, Goblin Souk, and Boy's Own Starship.
Okay. Yeah.
Kiss for Damocles, yes. J. Kenton Pierce.
Richard, anybody that's an actual sniper, either military or civilian, will not put 3,000 rounds down a barrel. The maximum they'll put down a barrel is 2,000. If it's something like a 6.5, they'll change barrels at 1,500 rounds.
I was fire lapping a barrel. And for those of you who don't know, fire lapping back in the 80s, this was the hot new.
Yeah.
And in fire lapping, there was snipers had sent us some rifles, and they just put the barrels on. So I had 20 rounds that were they're actually numbered. Fire this one first, then this one. The rounds were actually slightly different diameters.
Yep.
And they were rolled in Molly and carbide. So we polished the
Throat.
polish the throat in the barrel.
Yeah.
So I'd fire two, I'd bore scope the barrel, fire two, bore scope the barrel. I fired either 10 or 20 rounds through it. And then the infantry guy that was sniping showed up to claim it and said, well, how long is it good for? I said, you got 500 rounds and bring it back.
Yeah.
What? 500 rounds and bring it back.
Yep. That's what, everybody, the new hotness a couple of years ago was a 6.5 Creedmoor. It was a fast bullet. So yeah, but what they don't tell you about the 6.5 Creedmoor is
It eats barrels.
it eats barrels. Yes, Don is correct.
It's every bit as bad as the 6.5 Grendel, which used to be the monster barrel eater, the 6.5 Grendel.
Yeah.
The 6.5 Creedmoor is every bit as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, 6.5. Some people change them in 1,000 rounds. Some people 1,500. And we did a F-Series match at Quantico. And yeah, people love them. Well, we had guys that were, I will say professional because they were. They came in to shoot the match and they were shooting 6.5 Creedmoor. And they were doing the special bullets and the whole 9 yards.
Very low drag bullets.
Yeah, and they were pushing 3,000 foot per second out of the barrel. Yes, Rick, it is effectively a new gun and you've got to redo everything.
From throat all the way to crown.
Yeah, but they were blowing bullets up because even with the top of the line Berger bullets, they could not keep them from exploding at 3,000 foot per second. Of course, they blamed us for not marking the target correctly when we're going, hey, they ain't a mark on a friggin' target.
Don't know what to tell you guys.
Yeah. And we actually had to put one of our expert coaches down behind the guy. And he said, yeah, you're blowing a bullet up at 600 yards. Oh, I'm not. He says, dude, I can see the thing blow up.
A little puff when it.
Yeah.
What Jim means by blowing up is the jacket separates from the core.
Yeah.
It's spinning, the angular momentum, the spin, centrifugal force, the jacket peels loose from the core, and things just go all
Wonky.
Yeah. Yes, Jesse. Barrels are definitely a consumer item.
Well, 308 barrels don't get eat up quite that fast. 708 barrels. But Jim's got a 30-06. It's the barrel's going to last him and probably the next three people that inherit it.
Yeah. But it's also not a sniper rifle.
Right, exactly.
It's a 1940 Model 70 Winchester. And it's probably had, in its lifetime, 500 rounds through it. Both of my sniper rifles are approaching 1,000 rounds. So there's a difference in the level of how much you shoot, quote unquote.
A few years ago, back when the Noisy Maggot was the big hotness because it was cheap.
Yeah.
People were complaining about how hard it kicked. And I went,
It's a shit stock design with a solid steel butt plate. No shit.
Yeah.
well, and I went, it's not that big a deal. And people were telling me, yeah, but I want a gun I can shoot 1,000 rounds a day through rather than 10.
Get a 22.
Yeah, get a 22.
And I'm thinking, who's got the money?
Yeah.
And B, the time to shoot 1,000 rounds a day?
7.62 by 54 rimmed it's not exactly a hard kicking
No.
round, but when you got crap stock design and a solid steel butt plate, 7.62 by 54 rimmed is not a pleasant round to shoot.
No. And that's where people get into a dislike of recoil.
Mhm.
Put it mildly.
I remember when. Do everybody remember Colonel Cooper's Scout concept?
Yeah.
I remember when Steyr came out with their version of the Cooper Scout.
Yeah.
And everybody was all sorts of happy about that thing.
308 with 5.6 pounds, I think.
Yeah. That was not a pleasant rifle to shoot. I've got a 708 that's seven, almost 8 pounds. Better stock design and a nice thick recoil pad because I'm a wimp. Much more pleasant to shoot.
Yeah, Don, that's true. 9 out of 10 times, the problem with recoil is being user error or design problems.
Yeah.
People do not, and I almost hate to say this, but it's true. People do not understand how to mount a rifle in a lot of cases. Yeah, Rick, that's a good point too. A hunting rifle is light enough to carry all day. It's going to kick like a mule. No disagreement there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's always going to be that trade-off. You know, I'm not going to lug my sniper rifle around all day. It's 15, 16 pounds. I'm not going to haul that thing around all day.
Yep.
My 30-06 is probably 8 pounds, fully loaded with a scope. Yeah. How often people actually shoot the big bores?
Well, that's the thing. One of the things the point I was trying to make was the guy that brought that Steyr Scout to the.
Yeah.
He wasn't ever going to practice with it.
Yeah.
You have to practice with your rifle before you get to the hunt.
Yeah.
If it's unpleasant to shoot, you're not going to practice with it. You're not going to get familiar with it.
Yeah.
If one round rattles your teeth, you're not going to fire 5 rounds.
I knew a guy lived up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, was rich. Had a guy build him a 375 H&H out of a Ruger number 1.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
That's what he wanted.
Oh, I'm sure.
He never fired it until he got to Africa.
Well,
He made the gunsmith sight it in,
and his professional hunter hated his guts.
and his professional hunter had to kill the target because he
Yep.
fucking missed it
Exactly.
and was so nervous on the second round, it skied.
Yeah.
What an elephant is doing in my pajamas, I don't. Yeah, no comment. But when I talk about mounting a rifle, it's where it's how you
where in the shoulder pocket it goes, where you put your thumb.
yeah, where
People
yes.
think I'm kidding.
But it's how you mount the rifle in your shoulder and how much pressure you use to hold it there. And the number of people that do it wrong, Marlin 4570, hell yes.
1895? It's a good rifle.
The number of people that do it wrong are absolutely amazing. A quick way to tell you about how much you're flinching and how much recoil bothers you. If you go to the range with a pistol, let's say you shoot 100 rounds of 9mm, or you shoot 100 rounds of 45. Take a 22 with you. And before you leave, put 50 rounds through that 22 and see how accurate you are.
Wow.
I like to start and end a range session with a 22 for that reason.
I will frequently, back when I was training people, I don't train people on firearms anymore, because back when I was training, I would inevitably at least once a session run a ball and dummy drill.
Yeah.
Where I would load the firearm.
Yeah.
Either and what I do is, if it was a revolver, I'd have five live rounds and one or two snap caps.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing with semi-automatic pistol, and I would stand there and watch them, and you could tell when the you could watch when they pull the trigger on the dummy and it didn't go off, you watch the jerk.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. Jesse and Jesse both. People shooting with ARs because ARs have very little kick.
Yeah, they don't kick worth a damn.
Well,
the standard ARs do. We get the 50 Beowulf or the 450 Bushmaster. That's a different. That's a whole different kettle of fish.
Plinking with a ladder set to 100. Yeah. But the number of people that don't mount it right, and B, are recoil averse, or C, physically have a problem.
Hmm. And it's perfectly okay to physically have a problem with a rifle.
Yeah.
John's saying he can't shoot the 45-70 anymore.
Yeah.
Well done. There's sometimes
smart enough to know that.
Yeah. And not tear himself up.
Yeah. Nancy, you love your AR carbine. A lot of people do. My buddy and I took his daughter out shooting when she was 12 years old. Started with 22, and I had brought my AR because I was doing some testing on the sites. And she begged her daddy to shoot the big rifle. And that's, I've got no problem with it because she was pretty safe. We'd worked her pretty hard, and she had popped off 8 or 10 rounds with her little cricket. So I let her shoot the AR. And 3 months later, she had her own AR at age 12.
Gunsmith Joe and I have one of these days we're going to have to do a video thing about the Curtius rifle. And you don't need the 375 Loudenboomen to hunt. You don't. Hell, the 30-30 was the king of hunting cartridges for a long time, still one of the most popular.
Yeah.
There are 6.8 SBC, 708, 243 in Texas. You don't need the 350 Legend in a bolt gun. Doesn't kick a lot. Will probably take anything in the lower 48.
Yeah.
It doesn't kick a lot. So in a bolt AR-15 or a bolt gun. I like them in bolt guns. It'll take anything lower 48. You don't have to have the 405 turbo Schützengegen. You don't.
Are you saying an HK 500 double is not what is needed for antelope?
No.
I have 7mm, and it will take anything on. Honestly, if I'm loading rounds, it'll take anything in this hemisphere.
Oh, what was it? Kilimanjaro Bell.
Karamojo Bell, 7x57 Mauser.
7x57 Mauser.
He was brain shooting elephants with it.
Effectively a 243.
275.
Or 275.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brain shooting elephants with it.
Shooting elephants, yeah. It's all about shot placement. It's what it always comes down to.
And if it's nice, light, easy recoiling, polite rifle, polite rifle is what is a nice, easy shooting, polite rifle that you'll practice with.
Keyword, practice.
Somebody that's practiced with 350 and knows where it hits out to 200 yards is much more effective on anything on mule deer. That's somebody that's got a 300 Weatherby Magnum that shot one round through it and and then never shot it again. He's no good on moose or elk. The guy with 350 that knows exactly what it does, perfectly good on moose or elk.
Yes, but
Kermit 757 is the ancestral 7mm 08.
Yep. I love that, but you can't find them here in the States, which is why I have a 708.
What's the minimum caliber for a large boar in somebody's backyard?
Whatever you got to hand.
22, 17 HMR.
Yeah, that's what Kelly Grayson hunts with.
I was just thinking about somebody whose story about shooting a boar with a 9mm.
That's a pistol. I don't shoot boars with pistols.
Yeah, and Don raises an excellent point. If you're shooting deer with something huge, you're wasting meat. Yeah.
7x57 is what I grew up shooting. I love them. 7mm Mauser, 275 Rigby, 7x57, all the same cartridge. You can't find them in the States. The 7mm 08 is the closest thing to it, which is why I carry 708.
a 9mm and HKP7.
Does not good for bores.
No, and it's also a heavy friggin' pistol, so it has very little recoil.
It's also heavy. Not only heavy, it's gas operated.
Yeah.
P7 doesn't have much recoil at all. It will burn your index finger if you go through three mags rapid.
Yeah.
But I love that pistol.
Yeah, you can have it.
I know.
I do not like HKs. They're German. I mean, you can beat somebody to death with them.
German engineers took a solid block of stainless steel, said, cut away everything that doesn't look like a P7.
Yeah.
There's your pistol. It's a chunk.
Yeah.
It's a chunk.
So anyway, back on the books. There are books coming out. I'm up over 30,000 words on the next Rim World.
He's writing again.
It's nice to be off the friggin' drugs and actually be able to think. I'm not going to get the short story done for Pecan because I don't have enough time. I can't write a story in 4 days right now.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. But, you know, the issue that a lot of folks seem to have, and this is from a side conversation I got in night before last about writing, is how do you write short when you're used to writing long? One of the ways, you know, the analogy that I use is if you think of a short story as being a 4-panel cartoon, a novella is a graphic novel, a novel is a fully detailed painting. So all the details are there. Learn to say no.
Yeah, Mike Burke. That's him writing again. Having just been to the same con I was at, you got to ask that.
Yeah. But the opposite is also true. If you have, let's say you're a novelist, you write 90,000 to 150,000 word novels. You have an antagonist, a protagonist, 8 to 10 secondary characters. It's a short story. So you need antagonist, protagonist, one, maybe two secondary characters. All that 3, 4, 5 pages of description you have in a novel
You don't get a short story.
becomes a paragraph.
Or even a line.
You're lying.
Well, I'll get to a line where you are describing some kind of secondary character's attributes in a paragraph. That becomes a line. Where you have detailed research on something like a weapon, and it's a paragraph long, it becomes a line, or maybe even part of a sentence. Stop following every single idea. Yeah, you'll never finish it. But the thing is, you can take those big pieces, compress them down, and make them smaller and smaller depending on what you're writing.
When I wrote Blood in the Sand for the Spot Ropes,
Yeah.
It got compressed hard. I had written 2 paragraphs describing a submachine gun use, and then when it finally got to
It was one sentence.
it was just as a Czech submachine gun.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 2-3 paragraphs describing this thing.
That's a good way to put it, Nancy. It teaches you efficiency in writing.
Mhm.
Now, the opposite is true if you're going from writing short stories to writing novellas or novels. You expand those things out.
Yep.
Yeah. Word count. Yes. Writing to word count.
And producing on time.
Yeah.
Which I'm having problems with right now.
Yeah. Yeah, differs. Everybody is focused in different ways. You have a critical function in surviving and keeping your kids alive. That's the entirety of your world right now. The other pieces will come together. Yeah, Rick, that's a good point. Al Hirschfield drawings, just lines. The short story is a go-kart and a novel is a luxury car. Yeah, that could be true too.
There's one way to look at it.
Whatever analogy you want to use. You just need to make sure that you're writing the word count and you're getting it in on time. And let me add this, that you've actually decided to write something that is within the character of the anthology you want to be in. You don't take a space opera and add in a cowboy and try to shove it in cowboy novel. Doesn't work that way.
Huh. One of my biggest gripes was back when we were still was getting a submission for Space Cowboys that was 3 guys in Space Marine armor walking to a bar. No, nice try, no candy. She just
Three
put
guys
something on
walk
my
into a
desk.
bar.
She just put something on my desk. Now I'm worried. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Nancy, it's fine to write long because you're going to cut it down.
You cut it down.
And if you don't, your editors will.
Or they'll go, nope, and go for somebody else.
Yeah. But that's where write to what the anthology is about.
Space operas come from Area 51. Boo this man. I
I
just hired him. Shit.
That note, we're done, folks. We've wasted
I just-
another hour of your time.
I just hired him. Shit. All right.
And he can't eat cheese.
Well, gonna save money for Dan. That's for damn sure.
No mayonnaise for you.
Uh, the details of the new anthologies you agreed to at LibertyCon.
I didn't get that drunk.
Yet.
I did not get that drunk. Woo!
Well, folks, be safe. Have a good weekend. And remember, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. And also, we're coming up on 4th of July.
We are.
So
Don't blow up anything you don't intend to.
don't blow up anything you don't intend to. And be careful
Ouch.
if you're going to play with explosives of any type, be they firecrackers or larger sizes.
That I would think that'd go without saying. Please don't be lackadaisical with explosives.
They do it once a year. They don't think.
I know.
So anyway, folks, be safe. Big kaboom, yes. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.